Are you or your loved ones suffering from illnesses such as TDS, also known as Trump derangement syndrome? Do you dismiss or deny the current issues facing our country, such as historic inflation, illegal immigration, corporate corruption, World War III escalations, and the chronic disease epidemic? Are you willing to elect someone who was the least popular vice president in modern history, and who offers no policy or vision for America, simply because your brain keeps telling you anyone but Trump? If so, you might be struggling from TDS. Introducing Independence.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Nicole Shanahan dropped this ad, and it was absolutely gold. I thought it was incredibly fitting for the video. Shout out to Nicole Shanahan. CNN host Kate Bolduan instantly regrets having Vivek on after he exposes Kamala Harris's constant flip-flop on her policies, barring there are any, period, of policies of her own besides the one that the ones that she's stealing from Trump. Shout out to everybody watching. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button. Really appreciate you guys. Let's jump into this here. CNN anchor Kate Bolduan had Vivek on CNN on Wednesday. Vivek, a former GOP presidential rival, is now Trump's surrogate, visiting CNN to point out Vice President Kamala Harris's shifting in policies on issues including fracking and healthcare. And CNN got flustered. They got flustered. Let's jump into the video.
Presidential candidate and Trump campaign surrogate Vivek Ramaswamy. Thank you so much for coming, and it's good to see you. So the campaign memo also makes clear that part of the strategy right now is to continue to try to define Kamala Harris as extreme and radical. If you take a look inside this new polling from CNN of likely voters in these battleground states, though, what likely voters are saying is that is not yet working. Showing the way we see it, the way the numbers show it is showing voters largely describe Harris's views and policies as mainstream and Trump's as too extreme across these states. About half in each state saying Trump's views and policies are so extreme, they pose a threat to the country.
Mind you, these polling numbers are from August 23rd to the 29th. New numbers came out today showing a little bit different, favoring Donald Trump.
While around 4 in 10 say the same about Harris's position. A lot of numbers, but the point being is if voters don't agree with the extreme narrative against Trump, do you think Team Trump should be shifting now against Harris? Sorry.
I actually I respectfully disagree with your characterization there in one important way, which is that voters have not yet been exposed, principally via the media, to what Kamala Harris's past positions actually are. I don't blame the voters. They've been served up a new version of Kamala Harris where she is running to the center on economic and social policies. But the reality is, if we're able to use Kamala Harris's own words against her, as I believe we should, she ran for president favoring an tax on unrealized capital gains, favoring an abolition, her words, to abolish private health insurance, a ban on fracking, bans on offshore drilling. These are the kinds of policies that absolutely are not mainstream for most Americans. And this is where I do think the debate will be useful. I do think that greater media scrutiny of Kamala Harris, hopefully with more sit-down interviews than we've had so far, will be helpful. Say what you will, you may or may not agree with Donald Trump. He and J.D. Vance have sat for tens of interviews, as have other members of the campaign and surrogate team. The reality is we haven't seen the same from Kamala Harris. I do expect that's going to change in the next couple of months, and I believe voters are going to be very well informed heading into November.
Vivek, but on banning private health insurance, she has said she does not believe that, and she does not believe that now. On banning fracking, she has made clear, and she did in the interview with Dana Bash, that she does not support that anymore. If evolving, or call it what you want, flip-flopping, you can call it what you want. But one second.
I can't leave that hanging. Kate, I can't leave that hanging on policy, if I may.
I understand, but I'm going to ask the question, then you can totally answer. She said very clearly that now is those are not her positions. If evolving on an issue, if evolving on a position, you can even call it flip-flopping on an issue. If that is now not allowed, if that should be, the death knell to a campaign, Donald Trump's got issues there.
So look, the reality is Donald Trump's been clear about his policy positions. With Kamala Harris, I want to be specific about this, though. Actions
abortion?
speak louder than words. When she, well, let's, you brought up some claims about Kamala Harris. I want to finish that discussion. She said she didn't favor a ban on fracking now. The reality is she was one of the strongest proponents of that ban, so much so that when she was in California, she sued the Obama administration over granting fracking permits. She didn't just favor the abolition of private health insurance. She was a co-sponsor of the bill with Bernie Sanders as a U.S. Senator for Medicare for All for Americans. The reality is, when you think about the Green New Deal, she was the chief proponent, not just as a co-sponsor of the legislation, but going further and saying she would end the filibuster in the Senate to ram that through. So the reality is she can say what she wants to say now. Those are actions she has taken. Is someone allowed to evolve? Of course they are, but she deserves to explain exactly why she's changed those positions, exactly what her position is. If it's not a ban on fracking, what exactly is it? What exactly is her healthcare plan if she no longer favors abolishing private health insurance, which just 4 short years ago when she ran for president, she did. And that's the kind of scrutiny that's been missing. I think Donald Trump has received plenty of scrutiny, and I give credit to him for sitting for hostile interviews that Kamala Harris has not. But the American people, the American electorate deserve a rich policy debate that they have not had with Kamala.
And it gets to be, I guess it will be for the voters to decide how long of kind of an expiration date there is on when something is still your position, or if you believe them now on what they're saying on their position. Voters get to decide. She said that her position has evolved on that. Is it okay for candidates to evolve on a position over a period of years?
I think it's perfectly acceptable. I think most people need to rethink their positions over time as facts change. But they deserve to explain to the people clearly what she has failed to do. And it's not just a change in position. These are hard positions on which she has actually taken policy action, both as a vice president, an attorney general, and a U.S. senator. And simply saying she doesn't believe that anymore is not a sufficient explanation on core issues that affect costs for Americans, healthcare for Americans, taxation for Americans, including taxes on unrealized gains, on which she has not yet changed her position. That, I think, is a devastating economic policy that's among those she needs to explain.
On positions that candidates seem to be struggling on, Donald Trump continues to be struggling on stating a clear position on abortion and reproductive rights. Last week, he was asked his position on a Florida ballot initiative he will be voting on to overturn the 6-week ban in Florida. And the way he responded to the question was 6 weeks is too short. I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. The next day, he said that he will then, though, support the 6-week ban. Why is he struggling to state a clear position on abortion then?
So again, I respectfully disagree with your characterization there about him struggling to state a position. The truth of the matter is Donald Trump has been crystal clear that, first of all, this is an issue for the states.
And that is an issue that he's going to be voting on in the state of Florida, right?
Well, first of all, in his capacity for running for U.S. president, what he's running for Kamala Harris against, he has been clear that he is against a federal ban on abortion. Now, on the Florida bill, which I want to address as well, there is a difference between being opposed to a 6-week ban, which he's been consistent on, both during the campaign when I ran against him, as well as throughout, that he's against a 6-week ban. That is different than what this ballot measure accomplishes. And I know you know that, Kate. This ballot measure, through its vague crafting, would allow abortions far after 6 weeks, arguably under the interpretation of some legal scholars, all the way up to the point of birth. He's against that, and that's been a consistent position as well. So I do think this attempt by Democrats in its politics, so you'd expect it, to conflate an opposition to a 6-week ban with somehow being in favor of a ballot measure that actually would allow for far more than that, is, I think, sophistry. And the job of voters, I hope they do it, is to see through that, even if it's served up to the media. You can't conflate those two things, and I don't think that's an inconsistency, with all due respect.
Things you also can't conflate is on the issue of, and I've heard this time and again, of accusing, of saying that Democrats and been putting this on Kamala Harris is, saying that they're going to be able to, as you mentioned, up to the point of birth or execute a baby after birth. That you do agree that that is illegal in all states.
That's
is not an issue.
Is and should be illegal, except for when you look at the vaguely drafted statutes that are now expanding in these ballot measures. And I think that's the debate we ought to be having in this country, is an honest debate at the state level. And where I give Donald Trump a lot of credit, this was my position during the presidential campaign as well, is that this is an issue for the states in a post-Dobbs world. I think Roe was correctly overturned. I think most Republicans agree on that. This is now an issue for the states. And I know that Democrats want to make this a core issue, but the reality is it's not a presidential issue anymore. It belongs to the states. Kamala Harris has wrongly characterized and wrongfully stated, I think in this case I'd call it an outright lie, saying Donald Trump would sign a federal abortion ban when he's been clear that he's against a federal position on this issue. And I think voters deserve that kind of clarity.
I personally love how the Trump team, just in general, are going on these leftist media outlets and speaking to these media outlets, knowing that they're going into the lion's den with anchors like Miss Kate here that is going to continuously interrupt them or continuously try to get these ask a question, then interrupt the guest while they're speaking to kind of prove a foot stamp in regards of a point. And the Trump team is continuously doing that. They are continuously going and having all types of media coverage, whether that's favorable to Republicans or favorable to Democrats. And this just shows this gives an opportunity for people who watch left media coverage like CNN, similar to CNN, an opportunity to see different perspectives. And I think that is the biggest faulty in regards of the Harris and Walz campaign, is that they're not being clear on why they switched. Let me know if you guys agree with this. And Vivek right here, Vivek, you could see, I'm gonna pull back a little bit here. You could see there is clear frustration when Vivek was talking, that she was continuously trying to interrupt him and it just wasn't working. And Vivek had an awesome showing in this interview with CNN and made some valid points. I am personally a fan of Vivek with these constant showings. Also Tulsi Gabbard, both of them are showing up. RFK as well, showing up phenomenally on leftist bias media. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your comments down below. Let me know. Vivek probably will not come back. They will not allow him back to CNN after this interview, for sure. Let me know in the comments. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one.